Hi, my name's Olivia Brown, and this is my video for the Media Bias project. I just recorded this, and my audio didn't record, so we're going to try this again. And I tested it this time, so it'll work. And I can probably get this done faster now because I know roughly what I'm going to say. But so basically, I want to start off by saying that I've always known media bias has existed. I would hope that most people do. My dad has always taught me about it. He's always said, don't trust a news source just because it's news or because people older than you are telling you something, because a lot of times it's not 100% true, or it's propaganda, or it's twisted in some way to make you riled up or believe something. But so as I looked at my two articles, which I chose articles from CNN and Fox mostly because those were the first that I could think of, that I wanted to choose two news stations from the opposite ends of the political spectrum. So CNN for liberal and Fox for conservative. And as I looked through those articles, the first time, I couldn't really see a ton of media bias because of how delicately they weave it in. And it's so hard to see if you're not looking for it, if you're not clearly observing. So I can understand how people get so easily twisted into believing everything that their news sources tell them, because you should be able to trust them, yet we can't in the current age. CNN didn't seem very biased the first time I went through, but when I went through again, and by the way, the event I chose was Biden backing out of the presidential race because it's an unprecedented event that's going to make history. And but in CNN, it was interesting because I realized that there was a bias in it that they hardly mentioned the other side. Like, the only time they mentioned Donald Trump is the assassination attempt. And the only reason they mention that is because they're mentioning it in the context of the Democratic political landscape, which is just so fascinating. And they also endorse Harris, even though they don't endorse Harris, but they talk about the donors immediately giving Harris funds and preemptively saying, we'll support you if Biden backs out, which by including that information about the donors, CNN is biasing themselves to support Harris. Whereas Fox does the opposite. So they say that Biden backs out, and both of these articles say that Biden backing out is a good thing. They say, like, basically, thank goodness he backed out. He was too old. Let someone else take over. But Fox seems to think it's good for the Republican Party because they say that basically they use the context of Democratic Party leaders questioning if Harris is capable of taking over the campaign and successfully running it in roughly 100 days. And by raising those questions via the Democratic leaders and mentioning that information, they are creating a bias that they don't endorse Harris. And they also specifically include Donald Trump's response and a direct quote from a tweet or X about Biden from Trump, which further shows that they're biased towards Trump because they're not omitting Trump, whereas CNN did. But that was just really interesting to look at, because if I had just been reading it, like, for my news for the night, it wouldn't have even, like, if I hadn't been analyzing it for school, I wouldn't have even noticed most of it. I wouldn't have really looked at the bias, because you shouldn't have to, yet we do. And I just feel like media bias in general has become so hard, especially because now we have the internet, and so everyone on social media is biased, and a lot of younger people, especially, like, people my age and even older, we look at these, like, influencers online, and basically whatever they say we take as fact sometimes. Like, Taylor Swift specifically endorsed Kamala Harris, which I think is going to lead to a lot of younger people wanting to vote for Kamala Harris solely because one person who's not even involved in politics said you should vote for this person. But the way that our culture has become involved in politics and everyone has to take a side, even though it's not entertainers' place to take a side in politics, is interesting because you have to be biased almost, or else you're like weird or they're going to assume you're on the wrong side. But, sorry, that was a bit of a tangent. But getting back to my point is that news and media has almost become a part of the entertainment industry because it's been so capitalized off of, and it's been commercialized into just having some sort of shock factor for the viewers, because that's what gets the views and gets the money, because capitalism, yay. But as they've become more commercialized, it's become harder and murkier to tell what is real and what isn't. And so people should be educated on media bias. It should be like a required class to like learn about media bias the way that we learned about it in this class. But it's not in high school. You don't learn about it. They don't tell you these things. They don't properly educate you on the way the government works. But I lost my train of thought. Sorry, give me one moment. But so like we shouldn't have, everyone should be educated on the media and the media bias involved, and we shouldn't have to be, because there shouldn't be media bias, but there is. It's just human nature, and there will always be bias to some extent, and no matter what you do, because we're human. But I felt like this assignment was really useful in helping me identify different types of media bias, and I feel like I learned a lot about how to really analyze articles for bias, and I really appreciate this assignment, honestly. But thank you for listening to me ramble. I'm sorry that it ended up being so long, and thank you for looking over my paper. Bye-bye.